How did an ordinary salesman get unbelievably rich just before his 50th birthday? He became so rich that now everyone knows his name. This story is another proof that any person can succeed if he's obsessed with an idea that might be a great one, or a simple thing that came to someone's mind when doing an ordinary routine, like brushing your teeth or shaving, for instance. King Campbell Gillett was born on 5th of January in 1855 in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. His father, George Walcott Gillett, a patent agent, an inveterate thinker, and a mother, Fanny Lemure Camp, was very disciplinarian and always in control of her household. She taught her children of efficiency and hated of wasting time. King was raised in a big family. He was the youngest of 3 sons, and he also had 2 sisters. The family later moved to Chicago, Illinois. His family survived the Great Chicago Fire in 1971, but King's father lost everything because his hardware supply business was burned to the ground. So he decided to move his family to New York City. But King, at the age of 17 years old, stayed in Chicago on his own. He worked as a clerk for a wholesaler hardware company, as well as an assistant in a grocery store. In 2 years, he moved to New York City. From early in the morning, he was working in a telegram messenger company, and at night, he served in a restaurant as a waiter. Gillette was easily getting along with people and soon realized that he could do very well in sales. So he moved to Kansas City and tried his very best there. He was promoted by his company to a traveling salesman position when he was 21 years old, which is in fact quite early for such a position because he had now full responsibility for presenting his company and his products across the whole country. During 20 years working as a salesman for various companies, selling different products across many cities and states, he had a hobby of inventing various tools that could be used for household. By 1980, he had earned 4 patents. King also loved to read books and discuss politics. He had very strong political views. He wanted to see radical changes within the system of the United States. While Gillette was working on various tools, trying to find the one that would bring him a fortune, he was also becoming known for his radical political views. In 1894, he published a book titled The Human Drift, which advocated that all industry should be taken over by a single corporation owned by the public and that everyone in the US should live in a giant city called Metropolis, powered by Niagara Falls. Take a moment and just imagine his way of thinking. At the age of 35 years old in 1980, King got married to Alante Ella Gaines, who was the daughter of an Ohio oilman. They had 1 child, King James Gillette. King joined Crown Cork and Seal Company as a salesman traveling around New England and New York, reaching out to manufacturers and beverage producers with the company's product. The president of this company, William Painter, invented an improved stopper, a crown bottle cap that would crimp over a bottle top. This invention changed history because the cap that used to be pushed inside a bottle to reach the beverage was making it impossible to clean and reuse this bottle. So with the crown bottle cap, the beverage was properly sealed and the bottle could be used over again. Gillette truly admired this achievement and used to often come to Painter to show him what he came up with during his travels. Once, while studying another little Gillette creature, Painter advised him to create something that can be used and thrown away to keep customers coming back for more, just like his crown caps. Because King was a traveling salesman, he traveled across the country quite a lot. It was an interesting job, but it had its cons. For example, Gillette couldn't spend a lot of time with his family. He was always on various trips. And he also had a problem with his morning routine. At that time, there were only 2 options available for men to shave and look after their beards regularly. Either a barbershop, which is quite costly, or use sharp razors at home, which are pretty dangerous. Actually, there was a safety razor at that time, but it had a drawback. It had to be frequently sharpened by professionals, and after a while, it didn't look as pretty and clean as it used to at the moment of purchase. So one morning in 1895, King was 40 years old, and he was doing his regular routine when realized that his razor needs to be sharpened, which meant that he would need to look for a professional somewhere nearby who wastes his time and money again. He was annoyed and kept thinking if only he just had a razor that didn't need to be sharpened so frequently. And here's when it just hit him. He quickly visualized his own razor and rushed to a hardware store where he bought steel ribbon and some pieces of brass and began making a model of his safety razor. He wanted to substitute a thin double-edged steel blade placed between two plates and held in place by a T-handle. Instead of being sharpened, the removable blade would be simply thrown away once it became dull. He was so driven by his idea, he even wrote a letter to his wife back home, saying that our fortune is made. But Gillette had no background in metallurgy, so manufacturing such a blade on his own proved to be a challenge. It took 6 years for Gillette's idea to evolve. During that time, he continued to work as a salesman and tried to reach various experts wherever he would go. But all technical experts told Gillette that it would be impossible to produce steel that was hard, thin, and inexpensive enough for the commercial development of the disposable razor blade. Then, in 1901, when Gillette was already 46 years old, MIT graduate William Nickerson agreed to try working on his idea. Nickerson had a genius and technical ability to make Gillette's drafts come to life. He developed the machinery that led to the mass production of the blades. Finally, Gillette received his very first disposable safety razor, which later brought him a fortune. To sell the product, Gillette founded the American Safety Razor Company on September 28, 1901, changing the company's name to Gillette Safety Razor Company a year later. Proved to be valuable, Gillette brought Nickerson to be part of his board of directors. Gillette obtained a trademark registration for his portrait and signature on the packaging. Production began in 1903, when Gillette was 48 years old. He sold a total of 51 razors and 168 blades in South Boston. Such disappointing results for this innovation, don't you think? Gillette quickly realized that he needs to get his message across the whole country, telling men that from now on, they can shave at any conditions at any time of the day. So the company allocated a budget for advertising its safety razors. The sales started to rise. The next year, they sold 90,000 razors and 123,000 blades. Gillette won a patent for his product the next year. This patent gave Gillette the power to block entry into the installed base of handles that it would create. While other firms entered the multi-blade market with their own handles and blades, no one could produce Gillette handles or blades during the life of his patents. So none of them were as perfect as the original ones. 2 years later, Gillette had a blade plant, a sales operation in Mexico, and a European distribution network that sold in many nations, including Russia. By 1908, the corporation had established manufacturing facilities in the United States, Canada, Britain, France, and Germany. In 1910, King Gillette gave full control to his investor, John Joyce, for a fee of $900,000. Although he remained the president of the company, he no longer called shots on its day-to-day operations, spending most of his time visiting the company's branches to make sure that they were in order. During World War I, the US government ordered 3.5 million razors and 36 million blades to supply all its troops. In order to meet military supply schedules, shifts worked around the clock, and Gillette hired over 500 new employees. Gillette thus introduced a huge pool of potential customers to the still new idea of self-shaving with a safety razor. After the war, ex-servicemen needed blades to fit the razors they had been issued in the service, so it also boosted the company's sales and brand awareness. Many people now believe that Gillette has created not only a safety razor, but actually invented a business strategy that many companies have picked up later: to sell the core product at its lowest price and then offer disposable so-called products at higher prices. The actual story is way more interesting. Gillette didn't play the razors and blades strategy since the launch. On the contrary, Gillette was selling its handles at the highest price possible and fought to maintain those high prices during the life of the patents. The company was occupying the high end with razor sets listing at $5 and other brands occupying the low end with sets listing at $1. In 1921, Gillette's patent on the safety razor expired, but the company was ready for the change. It introduced the new improved Gillette razor, which sold at the old price and entered the low-priced end of the market with the old-style razor priced at only $1. Although the patent expired in 1924, the company didn't reduce its blades prices for $1 for a set of 12 blades. This is when the razors and blades pricing strategy occurred, when the company had razors at different prices and perfect blades at the same price for $1. Even though the pack was reduced to 10 blades. So razors and blades strategy was not invented on purpose, it just occurred during the company's development. In 1922, Gillette became royal purveyor to the Prince of Wales, and in 1924 to King Gustav V of Sweden. More favorable publicity followed when the Paris office gave Charles Lindbergh a Gillette Gold Traveler set the day after he completed his first non-stop transatlantic flight for a record-breaking time. By the end of the decade, Gillette faced its first major setback. Autostrop Safety Razor Company, owned by Hendrik Eastman, filed suit for patent infringement after Gillette produced a new blade using a continuous strip process similar to one originally presented to Gillette by Gaisman. Gillette resolved the suit by merging with Autostrop, only to face another problem. When Gaisman checked the company's financial records, he found that Gillette had overreported its earnings for the past 5 years by about $3 million. Confidence in Gillette fell, as did its stock. From a high of $125 early in 1929, the stock bottomed out after disclosure at $18. The crisis led to management reorganization. King Gillette resigned as nominal president and died 14 months later at the age of 77. King Gillette succumbed to an intestinal illness from which he suffered for several years. During his last years, Gillette devoted his time to real estate dealing, travel, and writing. He earned a salary of $25,000 a year, and his net worth was estimated to be around $700 million at the time of his death. As for the company, Gillette had its ups and downs. After Great Depression and with profits at the lowest since 1915, the board of directors appointed Joseph Spank Jr. president in December 1938 to invigorate the company. Spank invested in the company's advertising among the sports community, and this boosted sales. During World War II, foreign production and sales declined, but domestic production more than made up for those losses. Almost the entire production of razors and blades went to the military. In addition, Gillette manufactured fuel control units for military plane carburetors. The backlog of civilian demand after the war led to consecutive record sales. Later, the company had gone through diversification and new product line development, introducing shaving cream, the first non-razor product, and acquiring Tony Company to make home permanents, or Paper Mate Company, ballpoint pens manufacturer. There was so much of history since King Gillette passed away, and the company is now part of Procter & Gamble. Razors are one of the most profitable businesses for P&G. The company's razors are used by 750 million men in more than 200 countries. Gillette was ranked the 42nd world most valuable brand in 2020, and it was valued at approximately $6.9 billion in 2022. King Gillette proved that even the simplest of ideas can create a global brand that will remain successful for many years to come. His life story should serve as an inspiration for those who strive for success and remind us that no difficulties can stop a real entrepreneur on the way to his goal. Keep up learning, guys. Success is just the number of attempts.